everyone, welcome back to BRAVES'S Podcast. This is Akimi here. About 2 months ago, one of my friends, who we could call her Addie here, as a child living with domestic abuse from an adult, was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, also can be called PTSD for short. I believe that most of you probably heard about PTSD before. It is a mental health condition that may be diagnosed by a professional when someone has experienced a traumatic event and is having particular types of problems as a result. Traumatic events can be of many different types. Most adults have lived through at least one traumatic event, and many have experienced more than one event. Trauma can be also chronic, meaning that similar events happen many times over a long period of time. Well, here are some examples of traumatic events. First, sexual or physical abuse or assault, or seeing deaths or dead bodies, including while at work. Also, unexpected deaths of a loved one, and natural disasters, torture, domestic violence, or any witnesses or experiences violence, such as suicide. As a kid with PTSD, Addie told me that she couldn't help having flashbacks about the violence she went through, even if she was out of her previous environment. And she felt shameful and guilty about what she suffered and blamed everything on herself. And those are all the symptoms experienced by people with PTSD. Well, major types of symptoms include: number 1, re-experiencing symptoms, including flashbacks or thoughts about the traumatic event, or intense physical or emotional reactions to reminders of the event. Number 2, avoidance symptoms, including avoiding thinking or talking about the trauma, or avoiding people, places, activities that reminds you of the trauma. Number 3, negative changes in their thinking and emotions, including feeling more down, depressed, or anxious, or finding it hard or impossible to feel happy. Also can be feeling shameful or guilty, or feeling distant from other people, being unable to remember important parts of the trauma. They could even have more negative thoughts about themselves, other people, and the whole world. Number 4, emotional or physical reactivity, including being always on guard, or having trouble concentration, being quick to anger and aggression, and doing things that are risky. Also, they might have trouble sleeping. When I know that Addie got PTSD, I felt so sad and sympathy for her, and I really wanted to help her recover from her trauma. I felt that we know much more about what makes someone likely to develop PTSD than we do about what makes someone likely to recover naturally. So I looked it up on the internet and found out the following factors are thought to contribute to natural recovery. The resolutions below are for the people who suffer from PTSD. First off, social support. Believing that other people care about you and will be there if you need them. Also, being able to talk about the trauma and your reactions to it with supportive people. And having supporters who avoid reacting in unhelpful ways when told about trauma. Number 2, getting back to your life. Returning to a routine such as going to work or school, doing chores, and maintaining a sleep schedule. And please don't avoid safe reminders of the trauma. Staying connected to friends and other important people such as your parents and your families. Number 3, making meaning of what happened. You can find helpful and realistic ways to fit the trauma into the way you think about yourself, other people, and the world. And notice unhelpful thoughts that get into the way of making meaning, such as self-blame, and finding more helpful thoughts. You can also look for examples of ways that you did your best or coped well. After 2 months of psychotherapy and self-regulation, I could tell that Addie was getting better little by little. And I believe that one day she will return to that happy and optimistic girl. Well, after all, if you realize that you're suffering from PTSD right now, please don't give up on yourself. And for the people who have friends suffering from PTSD, please give your friends support. And tell them that we'll always be there. Alright, that's all for today's podcast. I'm Akimi from Braves. See you next time.